What's going on? What's going on? We're getting started here. Make sure before we get started, make sure you can hear me. If you can hear me just fine, throw a one in the chat. That way I'll know that you guys can hear me, and then we can get started. Hey, Angie, good to see you. If you can hear me, drop a one in the chat, please, just so I know that you guys can hear me. Okay, Josh, Meg. Okay, cool. We are live on all fronts, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me this afternoon. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. And we're going to do a little bit of discussion here. Hopefully, you'll have some audience participation. So you guys have come with some questions and some topics to talk about. So the podcast drop today, it is on sales secret number 2, which is attack. And I talk about in that podcast about how you need to be on the offense, the offense, right? You need to be going and doing outbound activities for sales. And a lot of us get to a point in our business where the phone starts to ring a little bit on its own, right? We're starting to get a little bit of referrals. We're starting to get some SEO working. We're running, some Facebook post organic, and it's generating a little bit of business. And the phone just kind of starts to ring on its own. And we just are like, oh, cool, I got to check that off. The marketing's good, the phone's ringing. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And the reality of it is that you're setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up for failure when you do that. I see this day in, day out where guys are posting on Facebook groups. Hey guys, have you noticed that the phone's slowing down a little bit? I haven't been getting as many calls lately. And that's an indicator that they're not doing any outbound activities. Guy says he gets 50 calls a day, which is awesome. I don't know anything about Guy. I don't know what your kind of marketing you do, what kind of business you are. I don't know anything about you. But if you're getting 50 calls a day without doing any outbound activities, that's pretty amazing, right? A lot of us don't get that many calls, and we need to make sure that we're doing outbound activities. And that's what the consensus or the basis of that podcast is about, doing outbound activities. You cannot rely 100% on referrals. And I know every time I say this, I get somebody that wants to argue with me about how they've been in business 25 years and all they do is referral business and that's it. That's great that it works for you. You are the exception. 100%. You are the exception to that rule. I still get contractors that are reaching out to me that have been in business for 20, 25 years, and they're not getting calls anymore. They've been relying on referrals that entire time, and now it's starting to die off. The referrals are dying in their business. So, it's not always a once and done activity. If you started way back in the day before technology became prevalent in marketing, then you had, a lot of that work was through referrals and word of mouth. I just saw an infographic the other day that was breaking down wealth in terms of generations, and 50% of the wealth in the U.S. belongs to baby boomers. And as those people start to retire out and eventually die off, that money is going to change. And each generation after that, the wealth, the pie, the percentage of the pie of the wealth in the U.S. or in the world, I guess it was. I don't remember if it was the world or the U.S., but each generation got less and less and less, with the millennials having the smallest piece of that pie in terms of wealth. Now, obviously, the longer you live, the more wealth you make, right? That's pretty obvious. You're going to make more money in theory as you get older. You're going to save more money, but the majority of the wealth is in the baby boomers. And the baby boomers are the ones that relied heavily on referrals. They relied heavily on your, word of mouth, on recommendations. They were the ones that wanted to see you face to face. And as those people move out, move into, nursing homes or move into final retirement, and they're not upgrading, they're not paying for services, and they're dying off, the new people that are coming in, the transfer of that wealth, they're not just going off of referrals. Especially the younger generation are going to use technology 100%. They may not even rely on referrals at all. So you can't just say this has been working for 20 years, therefore I don't need to do it anymore. Like, you always have to be on the offense to make sure that you're staying up, at least staying up with current trends. You don't have to be 100% into them, but you got to at least be staying up with current trends so that you can not get left behind completely. So if you're waiting, like if you're just now starting to collect reviews for your business, and there's been your competitors have been doing it for 2 years, they're leaps and bounds ahead of you, right? They may have 30, 40, 100, 200 referrals rather, or I'm sorry, reviews, and you have zero, right? And so now you have to play catch up. And so it's always critical to like make sure you're staying up with the current trends. In 2 years or 5 years, I don't know, reviews may be completely useless, because now, like especially on Amazon, you got all of these fake bot reviewers. Half of these, you see a product you want to buy and it's got 3,000, 4.8 star review rating, and half of those are bots. They're fake uh, people that bought those. So as technology advances, so does ways to cheat the system. And a lot of times when the system becomes so corrupt, that system becomes non-valid, right? And so that you can see that potentially with reviews. And you've seen that with Google. Google is changing their algorithms so that it's starting to actually weed out bad reviews. And in that process, the some good reviews are being penalized. I don't know what's going on with my screen, but it's flickering like crazy. Anyways, Angie says, but that's the way we've always done it. Yeah, sarcasm, 100%. That's the mantra of the. I think once you get over 40 years old, you start like, I don't really want to try new things. I'm happy where I'm at. I just want to maintain where I'm at and not do anything new. And that can be deadly, right? It can be so deadly when you get to that level and you just kind of want to start to maintain. Because in business, you're doing one of two things: you're either growing or you're dying. There's no maintaining. You don't get to a certain level and it's like, okay, I'm good here, I'm just going to maintain. You have to be growing in some way or another, and that doesn't necessarily mean scaling, like hiring a bunch more people and buying more equipment, but you're growing in some way, form, or fashion. So Kat says you're right. So right about needing more referrals, boomers, and being ahead of the times. Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen. Technology is going to change in the future. Like right now, if you want to be on cutting edge of technology, right now you should be registering with your voice activated search. So your Amazon, Alexa, your Google search, like all of the voice activated devices, there's databases in there. And so you should be registering with that. So when someone says, hey, Alexa, schedule me a plumber, or find me a plumber, you come up as one of the searches. Because otherwise, if you're not registered in there, you won't come up. And the people that are doing that now will be ahead of the game, right? That's just one way. It's just one simple way of getting ahead of the game. I knew about voice search databases over 2 years ago. Like now people are advertising those services to where, you hire them and they'll do all that for you. They've turned it into a service. But the reality of it is that's been around since Google and Alexa came out. People didn't know about it. They didn't even know that was an option. I think Gary Vee was the one talking about it 2 years ago, right? Which is where I heard it from. So like that's being on the front edge, because that probably won't become mainstream for another 2 to 3 years. So like in 2 years, everybody will be on Google search, Google voice search, just like everybody has a website or should have a website, or everybody's on reviews, Google reviews, right? So there's like the people that are on the cutting edge. Those are the people that are on that are in the middle, and then the people that are on they're lagging behind. They're like, oh man, I don't have any leads. Maybe I should start collecting reviews. Well, it's too late. You already got competitors that have been doing it for 5 years. They have 300 reviews. You're never going to catch up to that, right? So if I go search and the competitors come up and there's you with 2 reviews and your competitor has 300, I'm calling them first. every time. So like that's why it's so important to stay on the cutting edge of this stuff. Now, this is a lot of this could be called marketing, but I also call it sales because it's outbound stuff you can do. Like you collecting reviews in and of itself is an outbound sales strategy, because if people go and search and they see all your reviews, it's going to make them more inclined to call on you, right? To click your link and go to your website and call you. So that is an outbound strategy. I mean, yes, I guess technically it's a marketing strategy, but I call it sales because it helps you with sales. See, if I'm looking for your services and I go online and I search Google, Google your services near me, and there's options that come up, and there's 5 businesses that have that offer that service, and you're in there and you have the most reviews. You have 150 reviews, another one has 27 reviews, another one has 10 reviews, another one has no reviews. I'm clicking your link first. It's a done deal. And as long as it's not like a 2-star rating, but if you have like a 4.5 or above, I'm clicking you first and I'm going to your website. And if you don't have a website, that's a hit against you, because if you don't have a website and I can't find anything about you immediately, I'm going to the next person, because right now I'm in research mode. I'm researching the people that I can talk to. So you don't have a website, so I go to the next one that has 70 reviews or whatever, click on them, they do have a website, and I'm going to go look at it. Now, that doesn't mean that you're completely out of the running yet, but it does mean that you've been bumped down, right? Because now I'm just getting information. I'm just collecting information. And by the way, if you don't think people social proof you, you're 100% wrong. 100% wrong. People will social proof you. It doesn't necessarily mean that's going to disqualify you if you don't have reviews, or it's going to disqualify you if you don't have a website. But I guarantee you, I promise you, your clients are social proofing you before they ever call you. And the more information that you have, the better it makes you look. So again, if I go and you don't have a website, you get moved down the list, I go to the next one, the 70 review guy. I click on that. I look at their website. If it's a crappy website, I'm like, I don't know. This is not, crappy website means crappy service, crappy quality. Is that a true statement across the board? No. I mean, you could have the crappiest website on earth and be the best contractor on earth. But do people associate those two together? 100% they will. 100%. If you have a crappy website, they will associate you with having crappy business, crappy service, right? Same goes with your vehicles. Crappy vehicle, crappy website. The saying goes, how you do anything is how you'll do everything, right? How you do anything, or actually, I think it's how you do the small things is how you do everything. Something like that. I screwed it all up. I don't know. But basically what it means is the things that you do, in your business is a representation of how you're going to do work at their house. So if you have 0 reviews, crappy website, your phone sales, they call you and you don't call back for 3 days. You finally schedule an estimate. You show up in a crappy truck. You show up with stains on your shirt and holes in your jeans. Like it's a trend. No reviews, crappy website, crappy phone, crappy sales, crappy truck, crappy clothes. Amazing service. No, nobody thinks like that. People don't think like that. Your perception matters. So all this stuff is all outbound sales activities. These are all things that are part of it. They go hand in hand. The marketing and sales aspect go hand in hand. When your marketing is so good, your sales is extremely easy. It's extremely easy. But if your marketing is bad, but you're really good at sales, you can still sell jobs. It's just you don't have as many leads because you don't have the phones ringing. The phone's not ringing as much, right? So when you're going and doing outbound sales, what does that mean? That can mean cold calling referral sources, right? That's an outbound sales activity. That's where you're calling realtors, you're calling home inspectors, you're calling designers, you're calling architects, you're calling engineers, you're calling anybody that plays in your backyard, metaphorically. It's going to, play in your area of expertise. If you're a landscaper, if you do landscaping, you should be calling lawn care services that don't do landscaping, because they get asked every single day if they do landscaping. If you're a landscaper, you should have connections with, like, uh, you know, uh, beehive people. What do you call them? Beekeepers? Connections with beekeepers. You may think that's stupid. It's not. If someone has a bee problem or whatever, and they call a beekeeper and then they ask about other things they can do, they're going to recommend a landscaper. Plus, you have someone you can also recommend on the back end if someone's looking for a beekeeper. They want bee houses, the beehives they want to take care of. Now you have that. Like, people don't think about these types of connections. One of my clients is a flooring installer, and I told him, I was like, dude, you should be calling carpet cleaners. You should be making connections with carpet cleaners. Why? Because someone gets a call, they got a stain in their carpet, the carpet cleaner goes out there, it's a bad stain, they can't get it out. Now they got to replace their carpet. Well, the carpet cleaner can't do that. What's he going to do? He's going to recommend a flooring company, right? That's where that comes in. And if you do good service, you make him look good. He recommended you, you do a good service. You're obviously going to recommend him for other things. If someone calls or someone says, hey, we got a carpet, we don't know if we can clean it or not. You're like, hey, why don't you just clean it first and see if you can get it out? You recommend him. Now you're building a network, right? A referral source. I'm trying to think of other ones. If you're a remodeler, you can have connections with designers, interior designers. You can have connections with engineers, architects, pest companies. Why a pest company? If you're a remodeler, why would you have a relationship with a pest company? Because pests get into houses. If you have a hole in the wall and raccoons are getting in, it needs to be filled. And sometimes it's not always a repair. Sometimes that may lead into an actual, remodel. These are just ideas, guys. I'm just throwing stuff out here. By the way, if you got questions, put them in the chat. Put it in the chat. I want to talk about this. Termites, perfect, Cat. Yeah. I was talking about that the other day. If you open up a wall, potentially there's termites, then you're going to have someone to come out and exterminate it. Also, if they know there's termites ahead of time and they see it like on the outside of the house, they call the the pest people come out and they look at it and they pull off a piece of siding and it's completely ate up with termites. Guess what? Now they need to have that remodeled. So, pest companies, even like potentially, and I'm trying to think of a scenario, but even potentially with some cable companies, or telecommunication companies like that, you may have some relationships depending on what you do. All kinds of trades, obviously, even things that you may not seem like that would be a good referral source, could potentially be a referral source if you can make the connection. I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head that could just be off the wall, but even like pressure washing services, any kind of home services, or anybody that works around people's homes and or businesses could be a potential referral source for you. That's one outbound. There's networking groups that you can go to and meet with people on a regular basis, weekly, and pass business back and forth. That's another way you can do outbound sales. You can call past clients and see how things are going. You can do an 11-month follow-up. Most people do a 1-year workmanship warranty on all of their work. And so 11 months in, you call them and say, hey, your 12 months is coming up. Your warranty expires next month. I want to just come out and do an inspection and make sure nothing's messed up. You want to take care of it before your warranty runs out. A lot of times they'll say, no, we're good. We don't need anything, but I'm glad you called. We want to start planning for our next project. Or, yeah, there is something, actually, a little tiny thing, which is good because you want to go out and fix anything that's messed up because you don't want people to have a bad taste in their mouth, right? You can do all that. Yeah, Cat, good one. Gutter cleaning, window cleaning, referral source. Yeah, 100%. If you got somebody, even like a handyman, who is cleaning gutters or doing that stuff, if they're cleaning gutters and they're clogged up and they notice the water's coming over and it's getting into their house and stuff, it can, cause damage. Fascia boards can rot out. There's all kinds of stuff that can be beyond the scope of what a handyman might do. Same with window cleaning. So there, you can use your brain on different partnerships that you can partner up with, people that you can connect with and build networks with and partner up with them. What's some other things that you can do? So we got, what we say, we got outbound, we got calling, cold calling, we got BNI, handing out business cards is another one. And I haven't handed out a business card in probably 5 years, but it's still the same concept of talking to people. See, the problem with business cards is that we might meet somebody. It's like, oh, hey, here's my business card. Call me if you need anything. And that's not really like making a connection with them, right? Like you're just like, oh, here's my business card. What happens to the business card? It goes in the trash. So really, it's the connection. It's the actual conversation that you have with them is what's going to matter. What's up, gas station drugs? Good to see you. That's such a funny name. So Angie says, I pin bus. Oh, I pin business cards in gas stations. I got you. I've done that too. Banks, banks have a little community board. Sometimes your coffee shops have community boards. Anything that has a community board, you can go in there and, a lot of times pin up 3 or 4 business cards, come back in a month or so later and check it, and they're all gone. Like I've done that. I've done all that stuff too. Those can work, but they're low return on investment activities, right? I mean, if you're going to your bank once a week, that makes sense to just throw up some business cards while you're going in and out. But if like I'm driving around town just pinning up business cards at gas stations, it can work, but it's really, can you be doing other activities that are going to have a greater return on your investment? I believe so. I do believe so. You could come up with strategic partnerships with certain things. I did work with apartment complexes. We came up with a special little promo thing for people moving in that needed their TVs mounted, because we offered some handyman services as well. And so I could just come in. It was, the whatever the name of the apartment is, Washington Estates Apartments, move in special, $100 to mount your TV. And usually you could be in and out in like 15 minutes. And then you just stack on like, 6 jobs in one day. So you're there for 3 hours and make $600 or whatever. But I mean, there's just so much opportunity out there. If you do some outbound activities and networking, that you'll have so much work that you'll be like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. I got to hire 8 people right now. That's where you want to be. You don't want to be in a situation where you don't have work. Oh, I don't want to get too much work. I don't want to be too busy because I won't be able to do the work. Then just pre-qualify them. Figure out a better way to pre-qualify them. I don't know any successful contractor that says, oh, I don't want more work. They all do. And if you look at the ones in your city that are the most successful, like companies that are doing a lot of business, right? Like they don't drive unmarked trucks. They all have wrapped vehicles. They all have newer things. They all have some sort of uniform, even if it's just a basic t-shirt. Why? Because they want their name out there. They are branding constantly. They're not the guy who's just relying on referrals and has an unmarked truck. So if a company is so successful and they have, 5, 6 crews or 20 employees or whatever, a bunch of trucks, if that stuff doesn't work, or if it's not important, why do they do it? Why do the most successful companies out there have their trucks wrapped? Because logic would say you wouldn't need to have a truck wrap because they get so much business, because their reputation is so out there that they wouldn't need that. It's the complete opposite. They want to continue to get business, so they market in all avenues. They continue to market across, all their platforms. Let's see what we got. Kat says local school sport fundraisers are good in small towns. I found they can be, Kat. My thing on those, like, the local soccer team and you sponsor for $100 and you get a banner on the fence. I mean, that's really those you should be done just to help out the community. Like, not that you're going to expect to get business out of it. Uh, can you? Sure. But is that like, oh, I'm going to spend X amount of money on local sports so that I can get business? That wouldn't be that's not a viable marketing strategy for me. But yeah, in really small towns where it's like everyone knows everyone, it does have a lot more weight because it just shows that you're active in the community and supporting it. Angie says, I don't drive around to do it. That makes sense. So if you go to the gas station and get gas, you just run in and throw in some business cards. Yeah, that's taking opportunity while you're there. Cats, high school musicals are always fundraising for their programs, cheap ad prices. I personally have not had any success in generating leads through those methods. So basically through like any kind of print media, billboards, uh, sponsorships, you know, uh, golf community magazines, like any of those types of things have not had very much success in getting business. But again, if it's a way for you to give back to the community, then sure, go ahead and do it. I just wouldn't do it from the perspective of, oh, if I sponsor this, high school musical, I'm going to get leads out of it. You're probably not going to. Can you? Sure. But I'm not going to hang my hat on it, is what I mean. Mr. Junk says yard signs work well. I don't put them on a pole. They only go in customers' yards or businesses. They can, Mr. Junk. It really depends on your industry, and it depends on a lot of things. I'm not a big fan of yard signs personally. Can they work? Yeah. The one thing that people fail to understand is like if you live on a busy road where the speed limit's 45 and above, and you put a yard sign out that's this big, no one's ever going to read it. They just can't. They're going too fast. They won't be able to read it. They won't be able to write anything down, and they're not going to turn around and go back and write it down. If you live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of foot traffic and there's people walking their dogs and riding their bikes, yeah, a yard sign makes sense for sure. But I personally am not a huge fan of yard signs. It can also work through mass mass exposure. So like if you're let's say you're a lawn care company and you cut grass and you put out a yard sign like on one street in a subdivision, maybe there's 100 homes on one street. In your yards, you have a yard sign and like 15 homes on one street. So if someone drive down the street, they go, oh, yard sign, yard sign, yard sign, yard sign, yard sign, yard sign. Everywhere they go, they see your brand. The repetition of that can be very powerful. It's like, well, dude, everybody on the street's hiring this guy. He must be the guy to hire. So that can also help out as well. Aaron says, I have one sign I post while I'm working on exterior, interior. Yeah, something I'm a fan of is the big A-frame signs. You guys know what I'm talking about? They're plastic. They're big A-frame signs. They're like, I don't know, maybe 3.5 feet, 4 feet tall, about 2 foot wide, and then just the A-frame. You just fold them up and set them in the yard. I'm a big fan of those while you're working at the house. So while you're actually there during the day, you just throw the sign up and people can see it. At the end of the day, you just fold it up, throw it in your trailer, put it inside or whatever, and it's just out while you're working on the job. I mean, you could even get as crazy as like putting banners up. A lot of roofing companies they'll use nets. There's a company there, a couple companies that make nets that you can hang on the gutters that keep any debris from going on the ground. And on those nets, they'll have banners woven into the net. So you're driving down the street, there's a 10-foot, 6-foot, 8-foot banner with your logo on it. Like you can't miss that. You're going to see that. So there's lots of ways to increase the traffic that way. Mr. Junk says I got banners all over town. Yeah. So let's open it up for a discussion, guys. I don't know if anybody wants to come on live on TikTok and talk, we can do that, or even on Facebook. I can probably bring you in as well. and we can have a discussion. Or if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat, and I'll be sure to answer them for you. We'll take a little drinky drink here. Interesting. So, what questions do you guys have for myself? We'll open it up to anything. It doesn't have to be sales related. Any questions you guys have, we'll open it up to Q&A here. See if I can answer them for you, provide some value. You guys just like to hear me talk, it seems like. It's so hard to get people to comment and engage in conversation. Caleb says best way to get leads or promote. Caleb, did you just jump in here? Did you just come in just like a couple minutes ago? Because I just spent the last 30 minutes talking about that. Well, a couple things, Caleb. The best way to get leads or promote is to do outbound activities. Cold call, referral sources. Start building relationships with referral sources. You're going to want to go back and watch the replay of this. Watch the replay of this taping, and then also go listen to. I think it's, what number is it? Let me pull it up here. I had a podcast I did on 33 ways to market your business, and I go over literally every single way that you can market your business. So it's episode, where's it at? Episode number 92. Episode 92, 33 ways to market your business. That's the one you're going to want to go listen to. I can put it in the comments here for you, I believe. Okay, it's not letting me do it. That sucks. Episode 92. 33 ways to market your business. I appreciate it, Kat. Thank you. Joel says we do home and garden show in area. Yeah, that can work. I've noticed a pretty significant decline though in garden show, home show visitors, but it can work. When my excuse me, ugh, one of my friends owns a hot tub. He sells hot tubs, and that used to be his biggest show. I mean, he would sell 7 or 8 hot tubs in one weekend at these shows. So that was, for him, that was his single biggest activity was a home show. But over the years, it just kind of died out. Fairs, Angie, I think they can be fair. Fairs can be. I think it's going to be a local and niche thing. So, like, if you live in, let's say, the Midwest, and there's a lot of, there's not much to do in that area except the county fair. Like, everybody in town goes to the county fair. Then I think there could be some value there for sure. If you live in a big city and 1% of the population goes to the county fair, I don't think you're going to get as much value out of it. It just kind of depends on like the local trends, if that makes sense. Gabe says how to become a better bidder. Well, the first thing you do is you stop being a bidder. You stop bidding on jobs. See, when people who bid on jobs, what they're doing is they're submitting a number to compete with other people, and you're not going to get jobs like that unless you're the cheapest. So what you need to do is learn how to provide more value. And I don't know if you're talking residential or commercial, Gabe Trejo. I don't know which one you're talking about, but you need to learn how to sell. At the end of that's basically what it is. You learn how to sell, not learn how to give bids. right? You're just basically, when you give a bid, you're just pricing out scope of work. Someone says, "I need this, this, and this done," and you're saying, "Okay, it's going to cost you this much." That's not selling. That's not providing any value whatsoever. That's just bidding, if you will, or you know, bidding or pricing out scope. And that's not what you want to do. You provide value, and you do that through the sales process. Yeah, on commercial, like you need to get in with the if you're doing commercial work, you need to get in with the project management company or the project manager, whoever is going to be hiring people. You need to figure out how to become on a much more intimate level with that person. I mean, in other words, you're not just a contractor who's given a price. You somehow bond with that person, make a connection with them. That way they're going to go to bat for you when they go to their boss and say, "Hey, we're going to have to pay, we want to hire this guy who's 5-10% more than everyone else, and this is the reason why we want to hire him, because he's going to do X, X, and X for us." Right? Or I feel like we're going to get a better, situation or whatever. Like that's truly networking. And that's in a much more in-depth way of networking. Albert says, when subbing out work, do you have a set percent markup or do it by the job? Well, the default set amount of markup is 100%. Is that what you're going to get on every single subcontractor? Not necessarily. It does kind of depend by the job, but the way you start with is 100%. Yeah, you're welcome. Angie says Minnesota State Fair holds 2 million. Yeah, I mean, uh, yeah, it just depends, Angie. It's hard. That's a hard one to answer. Like, Duncan, one of my clients, he was the title sponsor for, they have a rodeo, and like that's in his town, the rodeo is like a big deal. So he's a title sponsor of the rodeo, and so that type of thing can definitely help get your name out there. But like if you're talking about, setting up a little booth in the corner, or having a little 4-foot banner on the, where they have the demolition derby, probably not going to get much work from that. Joe, you can go to my profile, because you're on TikTok. If you just click on my profile, you can go there. I have two different. The one where I call once a week, that's the Profit Accelerator. Um, you can also go to my website and get information there. You can go to right here below on TikTok at the very bottom. It says hammerandgrind.com. You should be able to go there, and you can send me a message. But I'm pretty sure if you go to my profile, if you just click on my name, my picture, in the corner, you should be able to, and then click on the link. There should be a link in there for you to be able to sign up. What's up, Paul? Good to see you. You're welcome, Gabe. On software, Gabe, I love software. What kind of software? I'm a big tech guy. Big tech guy. So I love software. It's a force multiplier. Software will allow you to do the job of 3 people with 1 person. And Joe, just so you know, like our calls every Wednesday afternoon. So like if you were to sign up today or tomorrow or even Wednesday morning, you'd be able to get on the call this week. Cool. Let me check one last, and then I need to hop off here the next couple minutes. So if you got any last questions, go ahead and throw them in. You got to be more specific, Gabe. What software are you talking about? Are you talking about CRM? Are you talking about estimating software? Are you talking about um, project management software? You talking about a task management software? Estimates. A lot of people like have liked JobTread. Again, it depends, because if you just want estimates and you don't want any other features, then there's others out there that are like they just focus on estimates. You know what I mean? Like there's Clear Estimates, or um, there's even one that's like 24/7. And again, I don't know exactly what you do, but there's 24/7 Pro. Like those are just estimating only softwares. They really don't do anything else. But a lot of people want more of a project management that does estimating, invoicing, scheduling, materials lists, task management, like the whole kit and caboodle. And so JobTread or Jobber are the top two that I would recommend. Not Jobber. Gosh dang it. JobTread or Progil. JobTread or Progil are the two that I recommend. Aaron says Drip Jobs or Jobber. I don't know much about Drip Jobs. Jobber, I had Jobber for 5 years, but they just started getting dumb with what they were doing. So I think Jobber it's better suited for landscaping companies or lawn care companies. That's just what they go after. If you're a remodeler or you do stuff like that, I wouldn't recommend them for that. Paul, I like Asana. That's just a personal preference. To-do list. I use Asana. That's just more of a personal preference. The thing about software, guys, is you're not going to find one that does 100% of what you want it to do. I don't care what it is. There's not a single software that will work 100% the way you want it to work. You got to understand that you may get 75% of what you want, or 90%, but you're going to have to augment it with other things, because everybody does things differently. There's no one way to do it across the board. So you just got to play with it. You got to see what you like. But the biggest thing is that you use it. And that's it. Like, you could have a bad piece of software, but if you use it, it's going to be better than doing it by hand or doing it by paper. So, I missed one here. Paul says to-do list software versus daily planner software. Yeah, I mean, like a to-do list software is going to be more like Asana. I use Asana for that. I've also used Google. Like Google has Task built into it. If you're a big Google guy, you can use Google Task. Albert says I've always had good results donating at DU NRA dinners, getting my company's name out and getting clients. Yeah, it depends on if that's your clients, right? If your clients are those type of people that are in that organization and go to those dinners, then yeah. Part of this too, guys, is knowing your audience. So like in Duncan's case, who sponsored the rodeo, a lot of his clients are in the agricultural space. They live on farms. They have big farm buildings, right? Big post frame buildings, big agricultural buildings. So what do those people like to do? People who typically live on farms may or may not have horses or livestock, and therefore they like to go to things like rodeos, right? It makes sense. If 99% of your clientele live in skyscrapers and you're sponsoring a rodeo, probably not going to get any work from that. So you just really have to know your clientele, your customer avatar, in order to figure that out. And then that's going to give you some good guidance on where to advertise. Joel says, do you have a video for the secretary as far as advice for scheduling phone calls, etc.? Amber, do I have a video for the secretary? I'm not following you on that. Yeah, Paul says old school guy until you try software. It is. And because Aaron said he's an old school coach. Oh, he's an old school though coach on pen and paper. Yeah, I mean, if you're only doing a small amount, you can get by with pen and paper. But if you really want to alleviate all of the additional work you have to do, you can't go wrong with software. Aaron says I canceled my subscription because I was still writing out my bids on a sketch pad. Yeah. Kat says that's what I need as a secretary. I would say you need an office manager, not a secretary. I'm a window door guy and I want to stop subbing for the big guys. Then let's get it. Start putting your name out there. You got to start branding yourself. Aaron says, Paul, I'm going to look into that. Brother, to-do list shows what to do. Daily planner helps you organize when to do it. Beast mode, I use QuickBooks to estimate invoice. Pretty basic. Yeah, QuickBooks will do that basic stuff for you. Angie says that, Paul, how do you collect field purchase expenses and job tread? You guys are having a conversation back and forth. Stormore, good to see you. What's your advice on media blast? I'm not sure what you mean specifically, but are you talking like radio and TV and stuff? Not a huge fan of that stuff. If that's what you're talking about, Stormore, I'm not a huge fan of doing like media blast. Oh, email blast. Newsletters work well. I had a monthly newsletter I sent out, and every time I sent one out, I'd have 1 to 3 people respond and say, "Oh, hey, I need to get on your schedule. I need to get this done." So, email newsletters is a good way to do that. Yeah, and by the way, you guys should be collecting emails, phone numbers, and names of all the people that contact you, because you can continue to market to them in the future, right? This also includes people you hire or candidates for a job. If someone applies for a job and they don't get hired, like you don't hire them, you keep their email and stuff, and then 6 months later, you can send out a blast and say, "Hey, we're hiring if you know anybody who's interested." You may think, "Well, that's stupid. I didn't hire him. Why would I want to do that?" Because they may know somebody else who is looking. Just because you didn't hire them doesn't mean they can't be a good referral source. Window and door guy, how do I get the money to float myself for a couple months? You got to save up, do some side jobs, start doing side jobs, save up. That's all you got to do. Lower your quality of life. Live off the bare minimum. Get ramen noodles. Eat ramen noodles every day. Sell all your crap. Most people aren't willing to do what it takes to be successful. I mean, like uber successful. That's just the reality. Most people will not do what it takes. So you have to like the ones that are like, I'm gonna win at all costs. I don't care what it costs. I know I'm gonna win. They will almost always be successful. What the hell is that? Like some kind of weird. I just saw some weird looking Pokemon or something on my screen. I've never seen that before. Um, the people that say they're going to win at all costs, like they don't care. They'll sell all their stuff. They'll move into a freaking 1 bedroom apartment. They'll live off ramen noodles, for months to be successful. Most people are like, "Oh, I make $80,000 a year. I live in a 4 bedroom house. I have a brand new truck. I don't want to live beyond those. I don't want to change my life. I don't want to lower my quality of standards, my quality of life." No, I'm not going to do that. But sometimes that's what you need to do, right? You have to do that if you want to be successful. Do you always have to do that? No. But do you have to be willing to do that and sometimes make concessions to be able to do that? Yeah, you do. Beast Mode said, "Are you physically working on your jobs or do you just manage this point?" I do not have I'm not currently running my construction business. I do not currently have a construction business right now. Get a line of credit. You can do that. I'm not a big fan of getting a line of I'm not a fan of going in debt to start your business. You don't need to. I started my business with $1,000 in the bank. Literally had $1,000 cash, a pickup truck, and some tools, and that's how I started my business part-time. I went to my boss and said, "Hey, look, starting my own business. I'm not going to steal from your clients. I'm going to get my own." He's like, I'm not really too happy about it. I was like, "Okay, it's going to happen regardless, but I'm still going to work for you as long as you want. And then I'm going to switch, and then I'm going to stop working Fridays for you. And then after a while, I'm going to stop working Thursdays for you, right? I'm going to transition into my own business." And even after I started full time, I was a subcontractor for him for a while, and that's what kept me going. So like, it doesn't always have to be. And I know you're a sub right now for another company, but I'm just saying, like, you can just tell your company that you're subbing for, like, "Hey, I'm not working on Fridays anymore." and you're going to work for yourself on Fridays. Like, you can just slowly get into it. Stormore says, you never have a bad day, just didn't meet your expectations. Yeah, I like that. Paul, that's not entirely true. I didn't get so good I closed my doors. What happened was I'm actually way more passionate about doing this. And the truth is that God opened a door for me to be able to do this full time. And that's what I did. Now, that doesn't mean I'm completely out of the game, because there are some things that behind the scenes that I'm working on. And it's going to be more along the lines of equity deals than actually running businesses. If that makes sense. I don't want to get too much into that, but yeah, you found your calling, no doubt. Oh, I appreciate it, Paul. Yeah. It's a long story. There's lots of reasons why I did that, why I decided to shut down my business after 11 years. But this is what I'm actually more passionate about. My wife and I have our own goals, and this particular venture is going to allow us to do our personal goals. In my other business was not able to allow us to do that. So, yeah, Kat, appreciate it. Hey guys, with that, I do need to hop off here. I got to go take care of some stuff. I appreciate you hanging out with me. If you need any more help, please reach out to me. Shoot me a message, DM. User says, how do I set things up this winter to do my own jobs? It's probably the worst time to start, to be honest, in the winter. But you just got to start networking with people. Like, you just got to network with people. That's the best thing you can do if you're trying to do it on the side, is start building networks with people. Start reaching out to people, and your family and friends, obviously, start there. Start within your network, and then start tapping into other people's networks, right? And if you do a good job, word will start to get out, slowly, but it will start to get out. Caleb, the best way to get in touch with me, man, you can just shoot me a message on Facebook. You can shoot me a Facebook Messenger. You can email me. Um, there's there's lots of ways. Like, you can comment. I can send you a message when I get done. There's lots of ways to get in touch, Caleb. All right, guys, I got to hop off here. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you need more help, then let me reach out to me. Shoot me some messages. Go to my profile. If you're on TikTok, click on it. There's some links in there. If you're on Facebook, you can just comment or shoot me a message. Smoke signal, it doesn't matter. Appreciate you guys hanging out, and have a great rest of your week. Thank you.